We're John and Amy, and we're the hosts of the Totally Worth It podcast. We love to share stories that from the outside look like sad stories. But when you really hear the stories about the families and the joy and the purpose and the impact that they have, you learn that they're not sad stories.
They're happy stories. And while we're listening to those stories, we can learn how to better serve and better love those in the special needs
All
community.
the stories are going to bring joy and value to your day.
Hopefully make you laugh a little bit.
And welcome to the Totally Worth It podcast.
Have fun.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Totally Worth It podcast. I'm Amy Gayhart. This is, which way? This is John Gayhart, my better half. And we are joined today by my friend Garrain Jones. Here's the deal, folks. Garrain has known me longer than John has. We actually grew up in the same town, Missouri City, Texas, just outside of Houston. We attended the same high school for a little bit. I'm a little bit older. We won't talk about that. But so I haven't seen him in 96 is when I graduated. It's 2020. Y'all do the math. It's too much, too much. So Garrain has an unbelievable story that we just love. I've been reading this little jewel right here. This is Garrain's book, Change Your Mindset, Change Your Life. And so we're going to jump on in with our conversation. Welcome, Garrain.
I've done so many podcasts, been on TV, spoke around the world, but it's always so different when I'm being interviewed by people who know me from when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on.
And here's the deal. He was so cute. Like, you were just cute.
Oh, I was tiny for a long time.
He was like this, like, John, what's my favorite phrase? Like, I want to pick him up and put him in my pocket. Like, that's what I always say. He was so cute, I wanted to put him in my pocket.
So John, I'll put it into perspective. I'm 41 now. I didn't start puberty until I was 18 years old after high school.
He was
Really?
cute.
So I was a little kid, like for a long time.
He was so,
Baby.
you're still cute, but I'm not going to put you in my pocket anymore.
That's too big for that. So Garrain, for those of us who don't know you, can you just give your story of where you're from, where you live now, what you do for a living? Amy's the only one here who knows you. So for the rest of us, give us an idea who you are.
Okay, so Garrain Jones, born in Houston, raised in Missouri City, Texas. Had a very, very, very troubled childhood simply because I hung out with people who got in trouble all the time. So by nature, you would just do whatever your friends were doing. And I just kind of never stopped. And the only reason why I passed grades is because I kept taking summer school to get the grade, but I would get like F's on F's on F's on F's over and over and over. And we'll go over this in hindsight, the reason why I'm now realizing and what I was diagnosed with in high school, actually. So I took that on, and I just couldn't seem to figure out how to grasp life. Like, it seems like other people were happy, other people were successful. I graduated from high school, and then my life literally started going downhill from there. There were few ups, but there were more downhill moments than there were ups. And fast forward to the time I was, 22 years old. So from 2002 to 2005, I spent 2.5 years in a French prison for drug smuggling, didn't have any discipline. I was always really passionate. I just never knew where to put the passion after sports was gone. And I ended up getting out, and oddly enough, I had a record deal with Ludacris over at DTP Def Jam, and it just really didn't work out. And I was always making things about myself and being really selfish and seeing, what's in it for me, because I had never been taught how to, a way of being and leadership, and I had never been exposed to that kind of environment. So this was just a continuum of my childhood. And I'd say by the time I got out, I was just so far gone from knowing how to navigate through troubled waters of life that for the next 10 years, I went from couch to couch to couch to girl's house to couch to couch to living in my car for 2.5 years. And that point, that's when I hit rock bottom. I was $200,000 in debt because I hadn't paid taxes for 7 years. My daughter pretty much disowned me. My girlfriend had broken up with me because I couldn't take care of my life. My mom was dying in the hospital. My brother was 357 pounds and he was like really obese and couldn't even walk 1 block without dripping beads of sweat. And I was living in my car and I contemplated suicide. So this was like dark, dark, dark. And I don't know where else to turn. 3:43 in the morning, 2011, August, I just had this moment of surrender. I just was like, threw my hands up and I yelled and I was like, okay, I'm tired of fighting. I don't want to fight anymore. I want to be healthy. I want to be happy. I want to be surrounded by nothing but positive people. I just want to inspire people. And I want to make a bunch of money, but I want the money to represent something that I passionately believe in. Just show me a sign. And in closing, I didn't know what that sign was going to be. A week later, I'm at a gas station and I had an encounter with a homeless guy who asked me for money. And I said, you have more money than me, because he had a wad of money. And he said, change your mindset, change your life. And I don't know what it was about those words, but words contain energy. It like stopped me in every thought I'd ever had in my tracks. I'm like, change your mindset, change your life. So if my mind is set on something, then that's why the result is what it is. So if I do different with the same circumstance, my life will change. Well, it's been 9 years and every single day I come up against something where I'm resisting or something that I don't like. I've taught myself how to do the opposite. And the opposite had me reading books. The opposite had me going to seminars, learning about emotional intelligence and transformational seminars and workshops, opening and doing deep trauma work inside of my soul. The opposite also taught me how to be a different kind of dad into a father who got his daughter back, who now attracted my soulmate and is married, who retired his mom, who travels around the world speaking on everything that I learned while doing the opposite and acquiring this completely different quality of life. And now I'm here as somebody whose purpose and mission is to breathe life into humanity so they can discover their God-given talents and use it to produce extraordinary results in their lives. And now we're here on this podcast.
I love it. I love it. Garrain, you touched on it a little bit, and we've told you before, like this podcast, you know, our daughter Mabry is 17. She has autism. She has a genetic disorder or genetic mutation, a gene mutation. So that's kind of how this podcast got going, just to like encourage special needs families. Like, yes, it's hard, but it's totally worth it. And here's why. Like, here's all these great stories, right? So you touched on it earlier that you had a diagnosis happen in high school. Tell us a little bit about that.
And here's the thing, and you didn't even know that.
I had no idea. I had no idea. So was it well known?
Oh, no, not at all. I was very ashamed.
Okay.
I was very ashamed. So here's the deal. So at an earlier age, I was diagnosed with a learning disability. So what would normally take someone 3 days to learn would take me 6 months. And we didn't know this, and we didn't have insurance, so I never could really go see anybody. They just said, he needs to, what is it called? They would put me in like smaller and smaller and smaller rooms. So I went from advanced classes and it was like everything was moving so fast. and even with a tutor. Then they put me in academic classes, and then everything was still moving so fast. Then they put me in foundation classes, and everything was still moving so fast. So here's the deal. The thing that got me by is I was a good cheater.
That's
So
all. That's him too.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a skill.
I cheated my way through high school. So all the grades that I got, it wasn't from me actually doing the work. It was actually smoozing up with somebody else. Can I copy off this? And I'll give you this if you let me cheat off your paper. I got really good at that, but then I started getting caught very often. So I've never read, my very first book that I ever read when I was 18 years old. It's called The Power of Positive Thinking by Dr. Norman Vincent Peale. I never read books. So I didn't even have I couldn't enunciate words because I never even developed the muscle. And I used to talk like this and I had a really big lisp. And I was intimidated by people, and this is even when I was a little kid, but I didn't know why. I was intimidated by people who would speak eloquently with big words, passionately like I do right now. Like I would clam up in a shell and I wouldn't talk. So what I would do is I would find a way to express myself in another way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when I found out, because when I went to a different school, mind you, I went from a 5A school to a 3A school. So in Elkins, you graduate with thousands of people. 3A schools are a couple hundred people. So the schools and the teachers, it was much smaller. And then I went to a smaller class. Then they put me into the special needs classes. And then I started excelling.
Mm.
So my process it's the processing speed. Even till this day, I still have it.
Mm-hmm.
However, when I used to tell myself that I was slow, and I used to tell myself that I can't keep up and that everybody's better than me, the story that I told myself, I actually started living out the story.
Mm.
But then once I started reading this book, mind you, I never read books before. Mm-hmm. So I never even developed how to sound out words or develop the muscle. So I picked up this book because I was so insecure about big speakers, about people who speak big, and I'd never read books. It was crazy. I picked up a book, not to know what's in the book, but only to over enunciate every word that was in there. Mm-hmm. Mind you, I had no idea what book I was reading. It's called The Power of Positive Thinking. And I was so negative to myself, and so were the people around me, because people were speaking to my needs. Oh, you need this, you need that. Oh, I need to help them, you need this. But no one ever asked me what I wanted.
Wow.
And so I do a lot of work in this area because I know what happened to me. And so as I'm reading, all right, he conceded, I'd like to, and I was over enunciating every word like this. But I was also taking in all of these positive thoughts and affirmations, ways to treat other people, ways to treat myself. I didn't know. So by the time I stopped reading, I stretched my mouth out so much that I was talking like this. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God. It blew, but this was like my own self-discovery journey. But inside of this book, I was learning how to be confident and how to believe in myself and how to block out the noise, even from my mom, my dad, and all these other people, anything that I'd ever heard, and actually listen to my own inner voice.
So you said in your book, you said you got that book for your 18th birthday.
I got it for my 18th birthday.
And you thought it was the dumbest gift.
Yeah.
What do you think about it now?
No, it's been the greatest. It's been the greatest gift to remind me of who I've been the entire time.
Mm.
But I just never knew that because I just knew what everybody else told me I was.
Yeah.
But
That's
when
great.
I learned how to tell myself who I am, that created a new story, because our lives is constructed of a bunch of stories, and we live out those stories. You get molested when you're a little kid, you tell yourself a story, that story will create your life. If your dad was domestic violence, boom, you tell yourself a story and you'll live out that story, which is why often you attract variations of things that you were domesticated with in childhood, okay? So I re-engineered every story I was told as a child, and I created a new vision of how I knew I wanted my life to look, and started living out that story.
Yeah.
Funny enough, the person with a speaking impediment is now a public speaker.
Well, it's the same as Moses. You know, Moses had a speech impediment. And I had this verse written on our nonverbal daughter's wall. I painted it right when we moved in this house, that it says, I will help you speak and I will teach you what to say. You know, so God used Moses, who has a speech impediment, to proclaim his message to the world. So yeah, that means he can take you too. And so much of that, you know, reminding yourself, telling yourself the story you want to tell yourself is so much. You know, I could tell myself daily, I failed my kids today. Nope, I'm the daughter of the Most High King. You know, to remind yourself over and over and over again. No, who I am is royalty. You know, I'm not, yeah, I forgot to pay my water bill. Nope, royalty. You know, like let go of all of the negative. And so that I totally agree with you. And for someone who is driven by fear and by negativity, which that's just how I am, it's a daily thing to keep reminding yourself those things.
Yeah, and it's a daily thing. It's the way I explain it to people. It's like, okay, so if you have a spouse, I was speaking to somebody the other day, and it's like, I just don't understand why all this will happen to me or something like that. I was like, well, nothing's happening to you. Your life is responding to you. Mm-hmm. And I said, do you have this guy, and I said, do you have a wife? He said, yes. I said, what would happen if you went a whole day and didn't touch your wife, you didn't remind her of how pretty she was, or you didn't tell her that you love her? A whole day, not one word, and you just passed by. What do you think she's gonna do? Oh, she's gonna wonder, what's up, what's this? I was like, so is it important to do it every day? He said, yeah. I said, why? He's like, because it's the constant reminder. It's like you keep watering the flower, you feed the dog, you give the baby food. It's like an everyday process. You brush your teeth every day. You take a shower every day for the most part. Cool. So why wouldn't you love on yourself every day? Why wouldn't you remind yourself of how great you are every day, of your confidence, of your gifts, your power? If everybody else can have all of this energy, so why not you? Yeah. So, and he said to me, he's like, man, but I just give and I just feel so empty. I was like, yeah, because you're giving everybody else your scraps, because you're not giving the most to yourself. That's like, give the most to yourself, let you overflow, and your overflow, when they get your overflow, they're actually getting the best of you, not the less of you. Yeah. And mind blown.
That's awesome.
Garrain, over the last couple of days, Amy and I have read through some of your book, and we really like the part where you talk about the metamorphosis of a butterfly, and how in the dark places, in the cocoon, the transformation and the growth happens, and the butterfly doesn't even know what's going on. Can you talk about some of those dark places for you in which that metamorphosis was happening and God was growing you? You didn't know it was happening. Now, you've already talked about the book. You've already talked about the time when the light bulb went on, but can you just go into depth about some of those places that you remember the metamorphosis happening?
One of the biggest places is when I was in prison. I feel like whatever journey you're on is meant to shape you and mold you according to whatever your prayer, your wish, your desire, your ask is. Well, to strengthen you and cultivate you to be able to get there. That's why they don't put first graders in fifth grade. So before I went to prison, the thing that I used to say to myself, my story was, I feel like I'm so far away from where I'm supposed to be. I feel like I'm stuck. I feel like I'm in prison. Well, guess where I was in prison? In France, far away from where I was supposed to be. So I didn't learn until about 2 years in, while I was in there serving a 12-year sentence. In losing my freedom, I discovered my freedom, because while I was out, I felt like I was in prison. But while I was in, that's when I discovered, oh, I remembered that I love to sing. I remembered that I love to draw. I remembered that I love to run. And then when I started doing all those things, I was sharing portraits of other people's families and inmates, and they were like happy. And when I would sing, other inmates would feel free. When I would run, less people were fighting, stabbing, less drug deals, everything. And I would run. Within 30 days, 60 people were running with me who'd never run inside of the prison. So while I was in prison on lockdown and everything was taken away from me, when you connect the dots looking backwards, I feel like God removed all the distractions so that I could actually be with myself and remember all of my gifts and everything that was outside of me that I was trying to distract myself with. When I was in that cocoon, that's where the most growth was taking place. And that's where I was praying more, I was meditating more, I was writing songs, I was creating, I was doing all the stuff that I've loved to do since I was a child. And when I reached the peak state of that, well, guess what? If I fill up this cup, you're not going to see it until it spills over into the next container. In the cocoon, I filled up myself so much. The spillover of that was a free version of myself when I was embodying all the characteristics of freedom. So while I was in it, that was the biggest cocoon. Hindsight, that was where I learned all the lessons so that I could use in the next level of my life.
Bang.
You talk in your book, and you've mentioned it already today, about the time in your car when you just surrendered and cried out. Was there something that day that triggered that? Like, what was something that happened right before that? What were the raw emotions that you were feeling right then that brought you to that point?
I used to always say, why does all this bad stuff keep happening to me? Can it get any worse? And then it would get worse. And can it get any worse? And then it would get worse. And can it get any worse? Now get this. I had like 13, 14 traffic tickets, parking tickets. Someone sends me $1,400 in anonymous on PayPal. To this day, still don't know. I know now, but anonymous.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can spend this money or I can pay off these traffic tickets. I'm going to pay off the traffic tickets. I get 1 block away. Mind you, my license is suspended, registration is past due. All of my clothes, I had like 6 trash bags full of clothes inside of my Jeep. I'm 1 block away. Cop pulls me over. I'm like, oh, don't pull me. It's like, don't take my car. Don't take my car. My license was suspended because I couldn't pay child support. Registration was past due. He was like, we're going to have to take your car. I was like, please don't take my car. I was like, I live in this car. I have the money right here. I'm going to pay off all of my tickets right now. And he took my car.
Mm.
And I was left in a Denny's parking lot. And this time, I didn't say, can it get any worse?
Mm.
I just started crying. And I was crying. And then my mom, she sent me a Western Union again to get my car out of the impound. And then I got my car back. And the day I got my car back, I went to LA Fitness, and I was in the valet area. I was in the valet area. Someone broke into my car the day I got it back, stole my computer, stole whatever was valuable in there, and I was just like, I was gone then. So I was going to my regular place to go and sleep, because I used to sleep in this little parking lot in Mail and More next to the frozen yogurt place. And it was 3:43 in the morning, and that's when it happened. I couldn't control how I wanted my life to go. So I threw my hands up and stopped trying to fight the current and realized that the flow was going in a completely different direction.
Mm.
That's where the surrender hit. It was raining. The window was scotch taped with a t-shirt. And I'm just like, there's gotta be another way. I'm way too talented to be in the situation that I'm in. But here's what happened. All my life, I blamed everybody else. I blame my mom, I blame my dead father, I blame my brother, I blame school, I blame my skin color, I blame the president of the United States, I blame this. And the one person I never blamed, I never took responsibility for my own actions. No one told me to eat fatty foods but myself. No one told me to wake up late but myself. No one told me to talk about people behind their backs but myself. No one told me to not follow my dreams but myself. And if I could change, I can't change anyone else, but maybe I can change myself. What do I need to change? That was the whole start of everything.
That's great. So good.
Garrain, the title of your book is Change Your Mindset, Change Your Life, and you've talked about the impact of those words. A lot of listeners of this podcast are parents of special needs.
Yeah.
And a lot of parents of special needs feel like they have no choices in life. And what advice do you have to really encourage them and show them, speak life into them, that they do have options in life?
All right, so this is actually my favorite part. I had a friend who had a little brother named Jeep, who is a special needs child. It's so interesting because it's actually my favorite story that I tell all over the world. So this podcast is not an accident. Jeep is 23 years old, but there's a something in his brain that has him operate like a 5-year-old. Jeep was also 400 pounds and on the verge of death if he did not lose weight. And people would always speak to his needs. You need to do this. You need. I remember what happened with me. I didn't know Jeep, but when I went to his house and I met Jeep and I went to his room and I saw these puzzles. These were like Legos, like Lifetime Batman Legos. I'm like, yo, how did you do it? It's like, this is not normal. But when you live with somebody your whole life, everything they do is pretty much normal to them because they're used to seeing it. But I'm like, I'm looking at these 5,000 puzzle piece sets and all these different things. And I was like, PJ, do you mind if I ask Jeep a few questions? I was like, was like, Jeep, you love puzzles, don't you? He's like, I love puzzles. I love puzzles. And his energy just elevated like crazy. And I said, in my head, it would take a long time to do this. I'm like, it must have taken you so long to do that 5,000 puzzle piece set. And he was like, it took me a few days. And
Yeah.
wait, what? He said 2 days. I'm like, what about this one? Oh, a day and a half. What did this one? 1 day. And I was like, I said, PJ, you know, this is not normal. I want to find out what's underneath that. Something will drive, you don't just, I can see 5,000, but, and this is very important for parents because they teach this all over the world. It's emotional intelligence. They don't teach you this in school. There was something driving his actions. And then I asked him, I said, so this makes you happy? He's like, yeah, I love puzzles. I love puzzles. And you know, he looks one way and then there's the other way. He's like, look, and I love puzzles. And I said, what do you love puzzles? He's like, I love connecting. And you could see the passion in his fingers going, I love connecting the pieces together. I love just connect, right? And I said, so what makes you sad? And he goes, when people blame me for doing things I didn't do. And then I said, when was your earliest memory of that? He said, it wasn't me. They blamed my dad. They blamed my dad for cheating on my mom. And I said, what happened? He said, I took it. And he said, he basically said, I took it as my fault. And I said, what happens when you think things are your fault? He said, I eat. So I'm trailing back things that no one thinks to add their children. His mom was watching and she's in tears because he's responding to things that she had no idea. Same with his brother and sister. And I'm trailing it all the way back. And I said, so what do you want more than anything in the world? He was like, I just want my mom and dad to get back together. I just want my mom and dad to get back together. And I'm watching the way he did his hands and something he wants more than anything in the world. And I'm saying, you love puzzles, don't you? He said, yeah. I said, what do you love about puzzles? I love putting the pieces together. And I'm like, oh my God. I found out what's driving the emotion. His mom is looking like, I've taken him to procedures and he's responding in a way that's so clear and focused and concise. And he's also on the verge of death because he doesn't lose weight. And I said, I know why nobody is really getting to him. Because they're telling him what he needs to do. And I'm asking him what he wants. So I went to what's connected to his heart. That's driving him to do all of these. It's like Guinness Book in the World Records. Boom. And I said, gee, if you lose 50 pounds, I will get you a 9,000 puzzle piece set. Okay, I'll lose 50 pounds. I'll do it. And it wasn't about trying to get him, for him, it wasn't about losing weight. It was about understanding what he wants and allowing that to be his target. And he was willing to do whatever it took. Jeep lost 150 pounds.
Wow.
And his mom, his dad, his brother, his sister said, I've never seen anything like that. We've spent thousands and thousands of dollars. I said, because most people don't do emotional intelligence, but you got to know what's triggering the emotions. I saw what happened to me. I saw what happened with my daughter. I saw what happened with so many people. I was like, well, the heart's the most powerful frequency in the world, so why not speak to the heart? So when I spoke to the heart, I'm going to show you what happened. This is the result of me honoring my word, because he lost 150 pounds And so since Jeep lost, this is probably gonna bring me to tears, but since Jeep lost 150 pounds, this is the video that happened.
That is awesome.
So happy.
It's so sweet.
So happy. Wow.
The whole family's so proud of you, Jeep. You've been working so hard.
Wow.
That's awesome. Oh,
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Such an inspiration to so many people because of your hard work. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow.
And 3 days later,
he had it together, huh?
9,000 pieces. 3 days later, this is what Jeep sent to me. I gotta find it.
It's so, I like the way that you worded, look at that.
Oh my gosh.
That is huge. Where do you even put anything like that?
That's on a ping pong table. Look how
on a
big
ping pong table.
So I love the way that you said, and this is so true with so many special needs people, where we tell them where to go every day. We tell them what to eat every day. We tell them what clothes to wear every day. So many aren't being asked what they want to do, what they want to be, what job they want to have. So that's such a good point as to, if you, even as a special needs parent, if you feel like you don't have options, maybe checking in with what your kid wants versus just continually giving them what they need. It might open some new doors and might trigger some new therapy. Yeah.
I've seen miracles, and and like I said, the heart's the most powerful frequency. So if it could, because Jeep, for all those years, has never responded that sure and concise about anything. And a stranger, we didn't have this, but I asked him questions that nobody ever asked him, which the heart cut through all of that other stuff. And what comes from the heart goes into the heart. So that's what I would share with the parents is it's like, when you know truly, not what you want for them, what they want, their heart is their own living essence. That thing has greatness inside of it. So when you speak into that and that's planted into the world, it's like the universe has a way of showing up. And the miraculous happens. It's like my mother always told me, do your part, God will handle the rest. But don't try to control the rest.
So let's shift gears. So you get to speak on huge stages. You've visited all sorts of countries. What's your favorite thing about getting to travel? Travel the world.
I really love learning about people. I really love learning about different cultures. I really love learning about, things that other people are used to, because if it's something that I like, then I go and adopt it. And, whether it's dressing, whether it's food, whether it's, the way of thinking. When I went to Singapore, and I was, it's predominantly Muslim, but there was a certain way that they would present themselves as far as like thinking. I was like, oh, I like that. I'm going to mix that. I'm a follower of Christ. I like the way that you frame that. So I'm going to just be this person. I love being richly cultured by the world.
Yeah.
It gives me a better understanding of the human experience and not just my only way I know how to think.
Yeah. Man, if we can, and I really think with this next generation that like we're getting there to think globally versus, you know, for me, white American in the suburbs, if you can think globally, I think our world is going to start caring a lot more about each other. That's for sure.
That's what I'm excited about. It's like a gift and a curse, like social media. It's because now the power is in the people's hands because they're not being massive. I'll turn off that TV. Okay, well, I have my phone. You know what I'm saying? So younger people are actually being exposed to things before parents or society says, oh, you can't watch this, and being shielded. It's like these 5-year-olds are saying, no, actually, wrong is wrong. That's not right. And speaking up before they're being domesticated in a certain way to only think the way their parents think.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that.
Garrain, you went from living in your car and in prison to speaking to hundreds of thousands of people all over the world. How do you wrap your mind around that? And do you ever see yourself taking your influence for granted?
I've always wanted this. So it would be a surprise to someone who never expected it. I was a little kid. My thing was people were like, oh, I want to be a lawyer like my dad. I wanted to be a freaking superhero. I wanted to be stronger than me. Huh?
Heck yeah.
I wanted to be stronger than the average man, have abs like an action figure, and save people and change people's lives all over the world. What do I do for a living? Stronger than the average man, have abs like an action figure, and I travel all over the world teaching people about transformational change. So for me, it's not a surprise. I'm just living out my childhood dreams. Most people, they give up on their childhood dreams. I've always wanted to be a superhero, and I maintained that all the way through high school. When I quit my first year of college and I quit, they were like, well, what do you want to be? I was like, yo, if there's any way that I could be a superhero, anything that reminds me of superhero-esque, that don't surprise me. So I don't have to wrap my head around knowing, think about all the superheroes. They overcome this crazy life in order to obtain their powers. When I connect the dots looking backwards, my life makes sense. The fact that I'm on stages with all these people, but who are the people who come to who watch my podcast or who come on my shows or who hire me for certain things? The people who actually bring me on are people who've been through some crazy stuff and they've learned how to overcome. They're like, man, I can relate. So since I went to prison, since I was a stripper, since I was in athletics, since I was in and out of jail, in and out of juvenile, since I was a liar, I was a cheater, I became an entrepreneur. I became somebody who was really excited about life. I was a dancer, I was a singer, I was in entertainment, I was an actor. I became a multimillionaire. I retired my mom. What kind of people do you think I would attract? People who've been to prison, people who've lied, people. So it makes sense because I know exactly who my audience is. It's the people who are just like, yo, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Not
when you were building your testimony, you made sure that you were able to reach a broad range of people, that's for sure.
And I didn't know that it was going to turn it. I just knew when I was a little kid, I feel like I'm supposed to be on stages of thousands. I actually said that when I had my moment of surrender.
Mm.
Oh, I want to be healthy. Then it happened. I want to be happy. Then it happened. I want to be surrounded by nothing but positive people. It happened. I want to inspire people all over the world. It happened. And I want to make a bunch of money doing something that I passionately believe in, that I would do for free. It happened. I asked for it.
That is awesome.
So
That
I'm
is
not
awesome.
surprised at what I asked for.
Yeah. I can't even believe I could talk for 3 hours, but we all have things to do.
How long has it been?
It's been almost an hour.
Oh.
So I'll end it with this question. I ask all of our guests this. What is something recently, whether a new product, a new food, a new app, anything like that, what's something that's been a game changer for you here recently, or something that you're really digging right now?
My wife.
Yes.
My wife, 100%. Oh my God, she's such an incredible woman.
And you just passed the test. Good job.
Yeah.
Thank you, Garrain, for making us all look dumb.
John said Post-it notes, and you said my wife.
As far as game changer, of course I have my products. I've been healthy, active lifestyle for 9 years. I've been on the Herbalife nutrition products, which I absolutely love, for 9 years. 41 years old, 41 years young, stronger, quicker, and faster than I've ever been, even when I was 18 as a high-level collegiate athlete right now. But as far as change, my relationship, earning my relationship with my daughter, and my marriage with my wife, who is a very structured individual, and I'd never been structured. So just by way of being around her, I've learned, and she stands for my greatness and I stand for hers. And we just keep leveling each other up. I call her my other whole, because she's like a whole person. And I would say that would be the biggest thing outside of my nutrition and supplements and stuff.
I love it. Well, you guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Order this. I ordered it off of Amazon.
I have one too.
Oh,
Hey,
look.
I gotta say something. Amy,
Yeah,
I gotta
sorry.
say something.
Oh, John's got one more thing.
So, Garrain, Amy and I always talk about the strongest tool that we have as individuals is our testimony. And it's our job and our purpose to share our testimony, to encourage other people. And that's all I get from you. I mean, an hour of knowing you, all I get is you sharing your testimony to encourage people and have a positive impact. So thank you.
Yeah.
You are touching the world in amazing places that you don't even know about. So please, please, please keep it up, because we all need it. Thank you very much.
And thank you so much. Really quick, my testimony was my key that gave me access to the world. The second somebody messaged me and said, once I read your story, I didn't drive my car off the bridge. Thank you so much. I knew that I was sent here to live this life so I could share this life.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys, get this book. Get this book. This isn't going to take you a week to read. Like, you can plow through it. There's some amazing things in here. Follow Garrain on Facebook, on Instagram. It's such, like, when I scroll past a post or something, it's just a breath of fresh air. So thank you. I have loved reconnecting with you, and let's stay in touch.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you guys so much for having this platform for stories like mine to have wings.
Absolutely. Thanks,
Thanks,
Garrain.
Garrain. Take care.
Bye-bye.
I think that was my best one yet.
Whatever is the easiest way for you to find us, podcast or YouTube, just subscribe.
Just come knock on the door. You can do
Come on.
that too.
Have dinner with us. You can take Mabry with you.
If you're nice. Go ahead and leave us a review also.
Leave us a review. You never know. You might just get it in front of somebody that really needed to hear the message.
But if you're going to be mean, just private message us.
Actually, don't message us at all.
Go on. Go on. Get out of here. We don't need you.
Thank you for watching and listening to the Totally Worth It podcast. We appreciate you.